Look what Ava has. Is she holding a baby lamb?
Is there anything more joyous than to have children around baby animals? This is such an incredible experience. We're here in Elk River, Minnesota, with a good buddy of mine, Garo, and this is his little hobby farm, Wrenwood. And these little guys are just a matter of weeks old, and we should probably put him down now so he could go be with his mom. Oh, there you go, buddy. Thanks. Yeah.
What an absolute joy it is to be around these animals, especially with kids. One of the greatest leadership characteristics we can talk about is that of having joy.
So, Garo, this whole concept of Wrenwood, right? You guys have animals and quite a few different ones. Over the years, we've been able to come out and see baby goats and lambs, and you guys have had potbelly pigs, and you have a number of waterfowl and different birds and donkeys, and I know you do pottery. So tell us a little bit more. What's this whole concept of Wrenwood, and how is it that you guys got into all this?
Well, we moved here about 8 years ago, 7.5 years ago, out of the cities, and we just wanted a place for the kids to experience nature, to experience animals, to get back to nature, if you will, right? And so we have just had all these animals and various things, partially for the kids and for the experience, so they can. For chores, right? Yeah. Kids learn by doing chores, and farm chores are tough. And we wanted to raise our kids to be tough. So we have all that, and recently I've gotten, like you said, into pottery, just trying to maybe develop a retirement income or something along those lines, right?
Sure.
And then my wife Sharon, she also does photography, so she does that on the side. So we just try to do what we can to be a little bit more self-sufficient here and enjoy nature. Gorgeous day here today. Enjoy the animals, and
So it's really interesting because by profession, you're an executive in IT, right?
Yeah.
And so you typically don't think of like IT guys, especially at that level, that that come out and get their hands dirty and wrestle with animals but I'll tell you this, one thing that I've always experienced when I've been out here is that with your kids and even with my kids is you can't be out here and not be around these animals and just in this nature not have joy. Right? It is such an incredible thing. And as we've talked before, as Garo and I have been able to be part of different nonprofit experiences together, one of the passions that both of us have is leadership and making sure to develop others. And one of the most, quite honestly, overlooked concepts in all of leadership, right? One of the missing ingredients that we see more today than anything is the concept of joy. And so I think there's two different ways to look at this, right? There's the responsible with an I, and there's the responsible with an A. And I think what we found is that so much in our culture, there's only 9 letters difference between that A and the I, but there's a world apart in the life of a leader. Because what we focused on in our culture is we put the weight of this responsibility, I, on our shoulders. And it's a lot like you guys in the city, and it just weighs you down, and so many pressures and stresses and all these things. It's all about results, and it's shallow, and it turns people into these micromanaging authoritarian leaders, right? But what we need, and that's not to say that duties and spreadsheets and accountability aren't important, but what we need to focus on more and more is the A, the responsible, right? It's having the ability really to respond to any situation. right? Any situation in the right way, the right time, with the right resources, right? And I love what the author Peter Kraft said. He said that our culture has filled our heads, right? But we've starved our wonder. And it's a lot like your family just saying, you know what? We're going to get back out to the nature. We're going to get back out to creation and let our kids experience the joy that comes with that, right? And so all we have to do, like we just experienced a little bit ago, is observe the innocent behavior of children. And Garrett, that I've known you long enough, but it's got to be such a joy for you watching little kids out here.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially kids that don't have this, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that a little bit. How's that experience for you watching little kids out here?
It really gives a lot of these things that we take for granted and that we work for really a special meaning.
Yeah.
Especially in this time when everybody's kind of cooped up in their homes because we can't go out, we can't be in touch with other people physically, and a lot of kids, a lot of families don't have the opportunity to enjoy something like this. And so this is really what we would love to do on a larger scale. We're not really set up for it, but to give people the ability to come out and enjoy farm days, do some chores here and there, and just help out and give kids that memory of a lifetime.
Yeah, it's such a sense of awe, right? I think we've allowed our adulting, right, if you will, to really cloud our sense of awe because we focus so much on the responsibilities that we have and all the pressures that come with that if we aren't even able to respond with joy, right? Yeah. And what we need is we need to come to a place, right, where what you think, what you say, and what you do are all in harmony. And when what you say, what you think, and what you do are all in harmony, you have joy, right? You really do. Now, there's a lot of misunderstandings around joy because a lot of times people just associate it with happiness, right? Just being happy, right? But joy isn't found in just happiness, right? It's not found in just material possessions. It's not rooted in the superficial, right? If you want to have true joy, you can't be an island, right? You have to have other people, right? And our family is so blessed because we have friends like Garo who they do all the chores and they take all this stuff so that my family can come out and enjoy it, right? And I'll tell you, right? So many times leaders ask, well, what's the difference? What's the difference, right, between happiness and joy, right? Well, happiness really is an outward expression of pleasure, right? And most of the times it's temporary, let's be honest. Now, we can choose happiness for sure, but then joy is what's found in the soul, right? It's that inward strength. It's what comes from children not being bogged down with the weights of responsibilities. They just look at things with such an innocence and they just embrace the joy, right? And so we just want to talk a little bit. I just want to give you a couple steps around this whole concept of how can we today as leaders, especially in a world and environment, right? I mean, even today, right? When we got here, we have to social distance, right? And we have to make sure that, we're washing our hands and that we're not embracing, right? Now the animals, fortunately, they're fine, right? And we're out here in just this amazing, beautiful space. But what does it look like in a leader in today's world? Especially when there's so much fear and people are weighted down with so much anxiety. What does it look like to really find joy, right, in the midst of it all? So I would say that first, we have to be able to provide connections, right? We have to be able to connect with team members. We have to have others. Remember, no man is an island, right? Especially if you want joy. So we've got to be able to connect to others, and when we connect, we have to bring it back to the original purpose and mission, right? So Garo, I know that you serve in various, through your church and through nonprofit stuff. What does it mean to you to really, even as an IT professional, an executive, what does it mean to really be able to connect well with other people?
That's really at the base of everything we do as human beings, is connect to each other.
Yeah.
Everything else is fluff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So like you were saying earlier, I work in IT, and I have this. So that's really my two extremes, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So being in an office far away and dealing with spreadsheets and IT issues and servers and software code, etc., is a world apart from where my heart really is.
Sure.
So,
and it's interesting because even in that IT field, we are more connected today, right, than ever before in the history of mankind. And you would know, right, more than anyone in this whole IT field. But yet we have seen to grow less in our ability to connect with people and with human connections, and that's so important. So not only do we need to make sure that we're connected to others to find that joy, we have to reveal the holistic value of others, especially your team members. If you're a leader, an influencer, humans, like Garo just said, we have this innate sense of belonging. We all have a sense of belonging, right? And with that sense of belonging, we also need to see the value. What purpose do we bring? And when you start to give affirmation to others, when it comes down to their skills, abilities, and talents, there's a certain level of joy that just automatically brings people, right? So how have you seen that, Garo, with whether it's through your nonprofit work, whether it's through, through this, experience here or others? How have you seen it where when you give someone a sense of that belonging and their purpose, right, that they really do, they kind of seem to respond differently?
100%. They do respond differently because all of a sudden they're being valued as a person.
Yeah.
And not for the outcome of what they produce.
Yeah.
And really, that's the key, I think.
Man, that's such a pivotal comment, right? Especially from an IT guy, right? That people matter, right? And we have to really be sensitive to the fact that at times, if we're just focused on people for their results and what they can bring to the table instead of who they are, they're not going to have joy, right? No. And so as leaders, we have to be aware of that, and we have to make sure that we're the ones that are providing that and not stifling that in our teams, right? And then finally, I would say finally then, thirdly, we have to make sure that we embrace the journey, right? We've got to embrace the journey. So many times our true joy, it doesn't come in the widgets that we make. It doesn't come in the fact that, I got this new server online, right? And that can breed that can really, it can bring us some temporary happiness, right? But the true joy comes in embracing the journey, right? And so, as you said earlier, with your family deciding to make such a pivotal move, it was all about, we want to just embrace the journey, right, in this together and have our children be able to experience this and grow. And there's got to be so many teachable moments and life lessons out here, right, for your children. And
every day.
And I'm so blessed because we know Garo's children and his daughters come over and babysat mine. And so they're just amazing kids. How do you make sure that you're pausing, and whether it's with your employees or even your kids, how do you make sure that they're understanding and really embracing the journey?
That's a good question.
Yeah, yeah,
So aside from spending time with them,
yeah,
like focused time with them,
yeah.
telling them every day that I love them, so they know how important they are to us, to me. Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. Don't know what to say right now.
No, but I think you hit the nail on the head, though. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
People don't know really how much you care until you tell them, right?
Right.
And when we begin to show that love and appreciation for others, then it begins to come out, right? And like you said, it's the power of presence. It's, are you taking the time, whether it's with your teams, and right now that, obviously most of our country is working remote, right? Whether it's through, an online platform like Zoom or Teams or whatever, whether it's through that screen or whether it's with your family, it's just taking those moments in time and just letting them know, hey, this is how much we value you, right? And this is how much we care about you, right? And so as you embrace the journey and you give those affirmations along the way, right? It's gonna really direct you in the right direction to embracing joy, right? Remember the difference between the responsible I and the responsible, right? We need to be able to respond appropriately, especially in times like this, because who do you want to follow right now, right? Do you want to follow the leaders that are authoritarian and that are coming down on you and you still have to produce, we don't care what's going on? Or do you want to respond to the ones that are able to just pause and say, you know what, we're here. Man, we're here. Let's, we still all have to get stuff done, but you know what? We're in this together. Right? Do you want to follow the one who is always uptight and you have to walk on eggshells, or do you want to follow the leader that quite honestly just brings joy? And so a couple of steps in the right direction to know that you're doing that well is don't take yourself too seriously, right? Don't take yourself too seriously. Now, I got to be honest, Garo, in my life, this is one that I've struggled with, right? I have. God has used some serious situations in my life to help humble me, right? Garo's been there through some of those, right? But I've had to stop, and we've had to embrace certain journeys. In my life recently, I've gone through a couple brain surgeries for brain cancer, and it makes you stop and just reflect and just like, man, wow. I can't take myself too seriously, all the way through just a couple minutes ago, running around here trying to catch one of these little lambs. Right? I mean, it's like, holy cow, like I couldn't even catch, one of these sheep running around here. Why is it important, Garo, for us to have joy and to demonstrate that and just not taking ourselves too seriously?
Because we all need to belong, right? We need to belong to each other as a family.
Yeah.
And if we take ourselves individually too seriously, we lose the ability to empathize, to have empathy for each other, and we lose, I think, view of the bigger picture.
Man, that is such a great point. Wow. Yeah, when we take ourselves too seriously, we build those walls, right? And then people don't want to be around you, right? I mean, that is such a powerful statement. So I think the next thing in taking steps towards, right, bringing joy into your leadership is not only don't take yourself too seriously, but then be flexible. Right? Be flexible, especially when it comes to your calendar, your details. We have to be flexible, and I can't imagine right out here, if you're trying to put your animals on a schedule, you're going to get frustrated in a hurry, right? You were even mentioning earlier that different animals require different kinds of feed and different kinds of, nutrition and all this stuff. Why is having flexibility in our lives so important to just really that connectivity and engaging with others?
Because we're all unique, right?
Yeah.
I have my needs, you have your needs.
Yeah.
if I insist on my way,
Yeah.
I will lose a lot of friends in a hurry. Right?
So true. Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
So then I would say reinvest in what matters, right? Don't waste your time with that which wastes your time, right? Now, everybody has a different opinion on that for sure, right? Some people would say, oh, well, being out here in a pen with sheep and, and there's manure and all these animals, that's a waste of time. But in the reality, it is such an important part of recapturing the essence of joy, because I don't care who you are. If you're out here, my 3-year-old daughter who was out here running around earlier, just watching the joy in her being around these animals, that's therapy for your soul, isn't it? I mean, you've 100%. Got to experience that so many times 100%. With people coming out here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Man,
100%.
That is just such a cool experience. It really is. Yeah. And so as we reinvest in what matters the most, there are times you might have to pause, right? But that's going back to that flexibility. You might have to pause and reflect and say, hey, maybe our family does need to make a crucial step, right? And maybe we need to get out of the concrete for a little bit and get out into the grass, right? Yep. But then I would say make sure another key point is to develop strong personal and professional relationships. There's a concept of mentoring, right? And a lot of times people get that misunderstood, but do you have people in your life that personally and professionally you can connect with? Why is it so important for us to have those kind of people in our lives, Garo?
I wouldn't need anybody like that if I knew it all.
Yeah, that is so good. Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah.
But since I don't, I rely on others to mentor me, right? To guide me.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to the personal connection that we have to have as human beings.
Right. Yeah, because if you're building up walls and you can't connect with anybody, right, it's going to be hard to have those people in your life, for sure. Yeah. And then you're not going to have joy, right? But then, so another key, I think, attribute to rediscovering the joy in your leadership journey, right, is to play to your strength, right? Play to your strength and your uniqueness. Like, Gary, you brought that up just a little bit ago, right? Like, we're all unique. And so as you play to your strengths, if you're just running around struggling all the time because you're like, oh, I've got all these weaknesses and I can't seem to get anything right? And play to your strengths. What are you really, really good at? I mean, I've had times in my life where I've had to call a girl and say, hey, man, IT-wise, I don't know what's going on because that's not my strength. But I've been very thankful that there are other people who it is their strength. And so, knowing Garo, I've been able to jump over and say, hey, man, can you help me out with this, right? And fortunately, he's had joy in being able to help us with that. And I would do the same. If there's ever anything that Garo needed that I could step in, it would bring me great joy to use the strengths and skills and abilities that I have to help. Why is it so important then for us, Garo, to play to our strengths and not get bogged down with all of the struggles that we have?
The strengths is what strengths and weakness.
Yeah.
I heard a definition for that. A strength is something you may be good at, but it makes you stronger.
That's good.
And the weakness, you still may be good at that, but it makes you weak. So it's not that you're bad at it or good at it. So I've been looking at that this way, and this has really kind of clarified certain things for me.
Interesting.
So to play to our strength is really to take care of myself.
Yeah. Really, in essence, it's taking care of myself. Wow, that is so good. This is why we do these interviews, because we get gold nuggets like that, right? Man, I could never come up with something that good. That is just awesome, man. And so then finally, to kind of top it all off, in rediscovering our joy, especially in our leadership, we have to stay healthy, right? We have to maintain a certain level of health, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, we have to take care of ourselves, right? We've got to be healthy. I'm sure you see this in IT all the time, is that machines, they break down and they need maintenance, right? So you got to keep them healthy. But it's so true, even in here, as we're surrounded by all these animals. You guys got to do stuff to make sure that they're healthy, right? So why is it important holistically that we make sure that we stay healthy?
So we can function.
Yeah.
We can be as parents, be here for our kids.
Yeah.
As friends, be here for each other.
Yeah.
In church, be here for each other. If we're sick, we can't function.
Yeah.
Right.
So true. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think in our culture right now, right, there is such an awareness around this that's coming out even more, especially with mental illness. I'm a veteran of the United States Army, and tragically, we're seeing that with many of our vets right now, is they're really struggling with PTSD and suicide and depression. And so we want to support any organization that we can that's reaching out to help them, right? And one of the hardest things that I've had to endure over the past few years has been physically, in my background, I was a distance runner, and distance runners, they endure, right? Whether it's through marathons or ultra marathons, you endure and you keep yourself healthy. But because of the physical journey that I've been on the past few years, I've gained a lot of weight and I haven't been able to exercise and run, and it takes a toll on you. It really does. Now, we're very blessed because we have amazing medical staff that are in that fight with us, and they're and I'm more blessed than I deserve because I'm still able to even do this, right? And come out and enjoy friends and nature, but there's something to this whole concept of staying healthy, because you can't really exhibit a lot of joy if you're broken, right? And like you said, we're just not useful, right? And so as we embrace this long lost art or attribute of joy in our leadership journey, we're here for you. If you have any questions or any thoughts or just need help, reach out to us, because we would love to be part of your journey in rediscovering what joy really is. So, Garo, thanks so much for your time and for letting our family come out again.
Absolutely.
and just embrace the joy of being out here with these animals, and so we appreciate you and we appreciate your time in spending a few moments with us as we continue on with our series of really coaching and inspiration and trying to figure out how do we lead better, because as we lead better, we can make an impact that lasts for a lifetime.